see this is just in case it came to the wrong meeting.
All right. Let's do this. Oh, that's not good. That's not good.
Told that lady when she came in, she brought some food. She
Find yourself up there. This is my dog. You know, it's the ones I always see up on the telephone. Oh, you know, listen to this stuff.
I can have the camera, please.
Oh, they're here to seek you.
doorman.
We'll call the September 17th meeting of the Lincoln Park City Mayor and Council to order. If everyone would please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag, which will be immediately followed by the invocation by Reverend Bill Clark, the First Baptist Church. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mayor, if we could have the Reverend and the rest of us remember that John Dingle was admitted to the hospital this morning for heart trouble, heart failure. So any prayers that you might have for him would be appreciated.
Our hearts and prayers, shall we? Dear gracious Heavenly Father, we come into your presence tonight with thanksgiving and praise. And what a great nation you have blessed us with, the United States of America, and I ask your continued blessing and the protection over it. I also want to thank you for the city of Lincoln Park. Father God, this is a great city, and I just pray, Father, that you would continue to watch over and bless it this evening. We also want to lift up John Dingle, who's been admitted to the hospital, Father. Our prayers are with him, and we pray your healing touch be upon him this evening. This evening, Father, I ask your blessing upon this meeting. I want to thank you for our mayor and our city council members and all those that serve the citizens of Lincoln Park. And I pray your blessing upon each one, the family that they represent. And I just pray your watchful care and blessing over every citizen, every family, and I pray your blessing upon this city. I ask now that this meeting would be done diligently in order and according to your perfect will. Please watch over and bless the business at hand. And I'll just give you all the praise in the name of my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Reverend. If we could have roll call, please.
Councilperson Darzinski.
Here.
Higgins.
Here.
Kelsey.
Here.
Council President Murphy.
Here.
Councilman Parkinson.
Here.
Councilwoman Ross. Here. Mayor Carnes.
Here. Okay, welcome everybody. We have a packed house, which is good to see. I have to give my apologies for missing the meeting 2 weeks ago. I was overseeing bringing another resident into town, so otherwise the birth of my grandson Magnus, which was my first grandchild. So mother and child are doing very well. Thank you for your well wishes. And next thing I have is not so much fun. The Emmons construction. Last I heard, we are delayed on that project. It is not continuing forward for a little bit of while due to a labor strike that the engineers of the project have, not our Hennessy engineers, of course, but it's the operators for the asphalt equipment and such. So we're at a position where we are just hoping that they can resolve that as soon as possible. And if not, we'll have to make some alternative plans. But as it stands for right now, that project is on hold until we get some further information. We have Chief Martin of the fire department had a couple presentations that he wanted to make for some exemplary actions for the firefighters and for citizens of the police department, of the city, not of the police department, sorry. So he requested to make these presentations here, and I am all for that. So Chief Martin?
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I know that normally the awards go to the Public Safety Commission.
Would you check your microphone?
No.
Is there a podium switch? There's a little button.
How's that?
There you go.
There we go. I know normally the awards go through the Public Safety Commission process, but these were unusual circumstances, and I thought that they deserved a little bit extra attention. So with your permission, I'd like to read my award recommendation. On July 16th at approximately 5:30 p.m., the Lincoln Park Fire Department was dispatched to the intersection of Fort and Seacott for the report of an unresponsive person. Rescue 41 and Engine 41 were called to respond, at which point it was reported that CPR had been initiated by bystanders. Rescue 41 arrived first and found the patient to be in cardiac arrest, with CPR being performed by Mr. Drew Sorensen and Mr. Caleb Armstrong. Mr. Sorensen and Armstrong continued to assist with the resuscitation efforts until Engine 41 arrived to relieve them. The patient was defibrillated multiple times and eventually regained a pulse and was attempting to breathe on her own. Members of the LPFD rescue crew accompanied the transporting agency to the hospital to continue to care for the patient, where she was turned over to the hospital staff with vital signs intact. Mr. Drew Sorensen, excuse me, and Mr. Caleb Armstrong were two bystanders who initially saw the patient in distress, initiated the 911 system, and began performing CPR. The care they provided to the patient was exceptional and proved the statistic that early and effective CPR is paramount in the chances of surviving a cardiac arrest incident. I'm more than happy to report that the patient, Mrs. Pamela Campbell, survived her emergency and is with us tonight to help award those who helped her. Can I have Mrs. Campbell up here? First, I gotta give you a hug. I'm glad you're with us. All right, with that, Lieutenant Bob Wright, Sergeant Brandon Perry, Sergeant Jason Miley, and firefighter Sam Norton took actions that led directly to the prolonging of the life of Ms. Campbell and demonstrated outstanding patient care, which reflects their professionalism and dedication to serving the citizens of Lincoln Park. Furthermore, Mr. Drew Sorensen and Mr. Caleb Armstrong, without regard for themselves, took heroic actions to help a person in a life-threatening emergency, demonstrating honor, integrity, and goodwill that should make every citizen proud that such people patronize the city of Lincoln Park. Based on a review of the actions of those mentioned, I'm proud to present Mr. Drew Sorensen and Mr. Caleb Armstrong with the Lincoln Park Civilian Citation Award. Additionally, I'd like to present Lieutenant Bob Wright, Sergeant Brandon Perry, Sergeant Jason Miley, and firefighter Sam Norton with the Lincoln Park Fire Department Life Saving Award.
Very good.
So, if we can, we'd like to have Mr. Armstrong and, Mr. Sorensen up. Congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
I'll let you do the honors. You can pass those out. Mr. Sorensen. Oh, that's a. And that's.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Nice job. Congratulations. Nice job.
You'll always be in my heart. Ooh.
Did you have them come through and
Lieutenant Bob Wright.
get done?
Well,
Nice job. Mr. Brandon Perry. Will you make it? Sergeant Jason Miley. Hey, nice job. And firefighter Sam Norton.
yes.
Chief, if you wouldn't mind, have the honorees come up, because we'd like to extend our congratulations to them also.
Absolutely. Can I have everybody back up to the front? And thank you very much
You
for,
can take as much time to have whatever pictures or stuff you want to have taken in front here is all right.
come on up. Yeah. I didn't want to pick it on the spot.
Should be worth at least a couple bucks anyway, right?
I still have all the time. I don't want to push it, it's up to you.
I don't know, can I?
Ms. Campbell, did you want to say a few words?
Sure did. I would just like to say, I want to thank my guardian angels so much. After I got out the hospital, I didn't know who helped me. I didn't remember anything. And I went on Facebook and I was like, I was telling what had happened to me. I said, if anybody knows, if anybody knows my guardian angel, please tell them thanks for saving my life. I will love you guys forever. You will always be in my heart. And thanks so much for having me. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief, for bringing it to our attention. Just shows that there are a lot of good things that are going on in our town. We know about our fire department, who's on call for us 24/7. And it's nice to see our citizens rushing to the aid also, though. So great work, and thank you for bringing it to our attention. We have a couple events coming up. You have the Rotary's Sports Hall of Fame is going to be at the Lincoln Park High School cafeteria on Thursday, September 27th. There's a reception that begins at 5:30, and then dinner is at 6 p.m. It is a ticketed event. I'm sure that you can get tickets at the door, though.
Yes, you can.
Oh, there we go. $20 to $40. Should be 20.
I was thinking 15. Look forward to the donation from the mayor to
Yeah, there you
help
go.
subsidize that.
And then on October 6th, which is a Saturday, at the band shell is going to be the Zombie Apocalypse. There's a full day of events going on there with a trunk or treat starting at 11 o'clock in the morning. The Community Improvement Commission with a campfire and s'mores and stuff after that, and then there'll be live music in the evening. And you're encouraged to dress up like a zombie. Just sounds like a good time to be had by all. All right. Next item that we have is something that is been the brainchild of Councilman Darzinski, who wanted to bring a film festival to Lincoln Park. So it looks like that is going to be taking place. And so we have representatives of the company that is here. So folks, if you come up for our presentation, for your presentation, and introduce.
Yeah, I think so.
Please introduce all yourselves.
Hi, hello. I mean, oh my gosh, how are we going to follow that? I mean, I don't get any hugs or anything. I need to step up my game. But congratulations to those who did that heroic effort. Okay, great. So my name is Danny Shaw. I'm the Public Outreach and Community Coordinator for the Southeast Michigan Film Festival.
My name is Lauren Villio, and I'm a co-director of the Southeast Michigan Film Festival.
David Villio, another co-director of the Southeast Michigan Film Festival.
Blake Redburn, another co-director.
Sean Collins, last co-director.
So we're going to cruise through a few slides. We just wanted to share, the event that it's happening. Who here has heard of the Southeast Michigan Film Festival coming up? Oh, we have a few hands actually out here too. That's nice. So it's coming up on November 2nd and 3rd in the Lincoln Park High School Auditorium. We've worked with Councilman Darzinski for a little bit here now. So I'm just going to go through some slides. So most recently, hopefully if everyone checks out the News Herald, we've been in News Herald a few times trying to get some promotion for the upcoming event. We've been taking submissions for the films over the last 4 months or so. So wanted to share some of those numbers here so you can see what to expect in the November event. So we had almost 500 submissions, 441 total films were submitted through filmfreeway.com with over 160 hours of content that the team has to sift through. Lauren, do you want to elaborate?
Yes, so our team is actually here tonight, all of us that have been working on this together. As he said, everything came through Film Freeway. We opened submissions back in May, and we offered them for free, which a lot of filmmakers really that love that number. So by offering that, that's how we got that wonderful number of 441. And then we were able to reach out across a bunch of different platforms to get those submissions. As Danny showed you before, we've had some lovely press. We had a couple of podcasts reach out and help us promote that. So yeah, it's been really wonderful, and we've had an opportunity to see some really wonderful independent content.
So overall, the biggest challenge we have right now is taking 160 hours and dwindling down to 10 hours of content, which is quite difficult. So the team here over the next few weeks is going to be quite busy sifting through the rest of the submissions. Submissions closed just 2 days ago, so we're still looking through what we have. So our next steps is to notify the creators by the end of the month. And you can see there the 2 photos I have up on the slides are of the Lincoln Park High School Auditorium, where that will be shown. 1,400 seats in that auditorium, so it's quite a large space for us to spread out our wings there and get as many people as we can. And then here's a little bit of overview of the event itself. So on that Friday, doors open at 5 p.m. and goes until 10 p.m. And then on Saturday, doors open at noon, and the event closes with the awards ceremony at 8:30 p.m. You can buy tickets, a 2-day event for $20 or $10 for Friday, $15 for Saturday. So again, that's about 10 hours of content packed in those 2 days. There's also going to be meet and greets with different filmmakers. And also these guys behind me, I'm not a filmmaker myself, but these guys here are filmmakers. So they'll also be at the event, not only running the event, but giving their tips as well, and also mingling with other co-creators that are coming from around the country to share in the event with us. So one last thing I just wanted to mention is how everyone here can help make it a success. So please, if you have time those 2 days, attend. We would love to see you out there and share in some of these amazing films that we're going to be showing. And keep talking about the event. Share it on social media. We're on all of the different social platforms at SE Mitch Film Fest on all the different platforms. And we also go by SEMFest. Every good film festival has a short name, so we're hashtag SEMFest. And then we also have a few flyers, so we'll leave those sitting around if anyone wants to grab a flyer. We also have space for ads and sponsorships, so if there are any local businesses that want to partner with us to get their names on the programs, to these hundreds of people we'll be hosting for 2 days, both in the area and from out of the area. It's a good opportunity for some marketing. So with that, we just wanted to say thank you for allowing us to host the film festival at the high school and continue working with you guys and going from there. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much. We look forward to it. All right, lastly, under Mayor's comments, we have this item that was brought in to the City Hall, and it's from Kathy Marshall. It's a photo of it's a picture that she drew in what year, Ed?
It was about between 50 and 60 years ago. She was an art student at Lincoln Park High School.
And so we're going to take this and put this in the outer office out there. It was very nice of her to think of us and donate
Looks
it.
the same.
Thank you, Ed, for bringing it to our attention.
Take the tax write-off on it.
Hasn't changed at all.
Yep, please do. And with that, we'll jump into the consent agenda. Resolved that the following items listed under the consent agenda be approved as presented to the mayor and city council. 1, approve minutes, regular meeting held September 4, 2018. 2, accept minutes, special closed session held September 4, 2018, RE Retirees Healthcare.
So moved.
Support.
Okay, you have, I think it was Mr. Higgins or Councilman Higgins. There you go. All right, clerk call the roll.
Council President Murphy,
Yes.
Councilperson Higgins.
Yes.
Darzinski,
Yes.
Kelsey.
Yes.
Parkinson,
Yes.
Ross.
Yes.
Mayor Carnes.
Yes. That is for you. All right, at this point, we will call the public hearing regarding 2017-18 CAPER review to order. And we have CDBG, or Community Development Block Grant, and Parks and Rec Director Doreen Christian. Doreen?
Good evening. The purpose of this public hearing is to report on the CDBG activity for fiscal year 2017-18. All the activity is reported in depth in the Consolidated Annual Performance and Evaluation Report, which is the CAPER, which is located on the city website, at the city clerk's office, the library, the community center, and in the Office of Community Planning and Development. The 2017 CAPER is now available for public comment. The 15-day public comment period will end on Tuesday, October 2nd. All public comments need to be documented, so please direct your comments to myself, Doreen Christian, at dchristian@citylp.com, or by mail to the Office of Community Planning and Development, 3240 Ferris, Lincoln Park, 48146. CDBG funding is allocated to the city by HUD. We, in turn, have a public hearing to gather funding requests from public service agencies and department heads. The Community Improvement Commission goes over all the requests and gives their recommendation to Mayor and Council, who then vote on the use of funding, and an annual action plan is developed and sent to HUD for approval. The annual action plan is a template of how we spend the money. During the 17-18 program year, $519,386.19 was spent on eligible CDBG activities. This funding came from prior years' unexpended funds, current funding, and revolving loan income received from the repayment of residential rehab loans. The figure is a little bit low this year because we did not get our annual plan release of funds until October of 2017, which means we missed a whole construction season on getting anything done, just so people wondering why we are down from what we normally are. $115,127 was spent on public service activities. Of that amount, $34,884 subsidized nonprofit agencies and city programs. The city also utilized $80,000 for community policing and crime awareness programs. This was unexpended funds from previous years. $102,451 from prior year's funding was utilized for residential rehab. 5 homes were completed and 5 more are in various stages. $51,515 was utilized to demo 5 dangerous homes in the city, and $14,055 for code enforcement. $94,778 was expended to work on the street project to replace the street and catch basin at the intersection of Russell and Electric. Lastly, $105,696 was spent on administration and planning activities to operate the CDBG program through the Community Planning and Development Office. All the activities improve the availability and accessibility of housing and services for low to moderate income persons, improve the affordability of housing and services, or enhance the sustainability of our neighborhoods. For more in-depth of exactly what was spent, you can check it out on the draft that is online. Mayor and Council, you'll be getting the final draft once we get all the public comments in that can be added to your document. And then I'll make sure you have them first off. And that's it. Is there any questions?
Any discussion from council? Hearing none, are there public comments in reference to the CDBG program? Okay, then, if there's not, then I'll adjourn the public hearing at 7:55 and reconvene the regular meeting. First item that we have that has a cover letter from Donna Breeding. After 46 years of service with the City of Lincoln Park, please accept my resignation as City Clerk effective September 7, 2018. Since 1982, I've dedicated my life and career to the office of City Clerk, first as Deputy Clerk 10 years and 26 years as your elected City Clerk. It has been an honor and privilege to work for the city. I'd like to thank the voters for placing their confidence in me as clerk for all of these years. Okay. So whereas on August 27, 2018, City Clerk Donna Breeding submitted a resignation as City Clerk effective September 7, 2018. Now therefore be it resolved that Mayor and Council accept Donna Breeding's resignation as City Clerk effective September 7, 2018.
So move, Your Honor.
Support.
Your Honor, could I ask that we enter in there, accept Donna Breeding's resignation with regret? Can we put that in there too? Because of after all those years and the good job she's done, can we
Certainly.
give her that?
With the supporter, who was the supporter on that?
It was either me or Councilman Darzinski. I don't know. One of us. Doesn't make any difference.
I will. You're closer. Do you accept the?
Yes, I do, yes.
The amendment to that?
Yes, yes.
All right, is there discussion? Then clerk call the roll.
Council President Murphy?
Yes.
Councilperson Kelsey?
Yes.
Darzinski?
Yes.
Higgins?
Yes.
Parkinson?
Yes.
Ross?
Yes.
Mayor Carnes?
Yes. Next item is resolved that Jason Burr, 1044 White, Lincoln Park, Michigan, 48146, is appointed to the Parks and Recreation Commission to fill the unexpired term of Virginia Mondon, term to expire May 1, 2019.
So moved.
Support.
Discussion? Clerk call the roll.
I didn't get it.
Oh, I'm sorry.
See, and who's over here?
Oh, I'm sorry. I moved.
Oh, okay.
Kelsey moved and.
I
was it-
supported.
And
Councilman Higgins.
Councilman Higgins.
Heard
sorry.
that again, huh?
Councilperson Kelsey?
Yes.
Higgins?
Yes.
Darzinski?
Yes.
Murphy?
Yes.
Parkinson?
Yes.
Ross?
Yes.
Mayor Carnes?
Yes. Next item is, whereas the state of Michigan allows cities having a population of less than 40,000 and an institution located within the city limits to appoint the city clerk as a local registrar for the purpose of filing vital records. And whereas the city clerk position is vacant due to the resignation of Donna Breeding and a replacement has not yet been appointed by council. And whereas the state of Michigan will allow the city of Lincoln Park to appoint the deputy clerk as an interim local registrar until such time as the city clerk's position is filled by the city council. Now therefore be it resolved that the mayor and council appoint Deputy City Clerk Jessica Martin as local registrar for vital records until such time as the vacant city clerk's position has been filled by city council.
So moved.
Support.
Okay, so you have Councilman Kelsey, there you go. Discussion? Clerk call the roll.
Councilperson Kelsey?
Yes.
Murphy?
Yes.
Darzinski?
Yes.
Higgins?
Yes.
Parkinson?
Yes.
Ross?
Yes.
Mayor Carnes?
Yes. Next item has a cover letter from Lisa Griggs, our Director of Finance and Operations. In accordance with the Uniform Budget and Accounting Act, it is necessary to adjust the current year's budget based on projected revenues and expenditures as submitted by all departments. Staff is currently preparing final adjustments for the upcoming audit. Therefore, the final amended budget may vary once the audit is complete. Based on the estimated revenues and expenditures for fiscal year 2017-18, the general fund is estimated to contribute an approximately $505,000 to fund balance. The mid-year projection called for utilizing $4,540 from fund balance, however. The overall expenditures were down over $450,000 and revenues were up just over $50,000, helping to contribute to fund balance. The 25th District Court revenue once again came in higher than anticipated, with an increase of $107,000, and the court expenditures were slightly down over the budgeted amount. While expenditures were up in the building department, the revenue from the building department was $170,000 more than anticipated. Nearly all general fund departments were below budgets. The anticipated contribution to fund balance estimates the general fund to be at approximately $4.4 million. This would bring the city's fund balance to nearly 19%, which is just under our policy of 20% fund balance. So resolved that the Director of Finance be and is hereby authorized to adjust the generally appropriated revenues and expenditures budget for the fiscal year 2017-2018 as submitted.
So moved.
Support.
So, discussion? Hearing none, clerk call the roll.
Councilpersons Kelsey?
Yes.
Darzinski?
Yes.
Higgins?
Yes.
Murphy?
Yes.
Parkinson?
Yes.
Ross?
Yes.
Mayor Carnes?
Yes. Next item has a cover letter from our city manager, Mr. Koppler. And recently, Chief Raymond Waters was selected to attend the 276th session of the FBI National Academy. This 10-week intensive training session offered through the FBI NA is highly sought after by all police agencies. The training received is advantageous to both the individual and the agency they are employed by. Chief Waters has completed the extensive screening process and has been accepted to attend the FBI NA session number 276. I believe this is a valuable training opportunity that will benefit the City of Lincoln Park Police Department and the city residents. There is no cost for city tuition, lodging, and meals while Chief Waters attends. The city will be responsible for expenses incurred traveling to and from Quantico, Virginia by the chief, consistent with past attendees. The city will cover additional travel to and from Quantico, Virginia during the 10-week session and incidental expenses not to exceed $1,200. Okay. So be it resolved that the mayor and council authorize Police Chief Ray Waters to attend the FBI National Academy session number 276. National Academy takes place at the FBI Academy in Quantico, Virginia. There is no cost for the academy, and lodging and food while it's at the academy are covered by the FBI. City vehicle will be used for initial travel to and final travel from Quantico, Virginia, with fuel reimbursement subject to the city's travel policy. And be it further resolved, due to the length of the academy, 10 weeks, the city will authorize up to 2 round-trip airfares and necessary incidental expenses, not to exceed a total of $1,200 for Chief Waters while he is in attendance at the academy. And be it further resolved, funds to come from Police Department forfeiture account number 265-320-860.
So move.
Support.
Okay, discussion? Okay, clerk call the roll.
Councilperson Darzinski?
Yes.
Kelsey?
Yes.
Higgins?
Yes.
Murphy?
Yes.
Parkinson?
Yes.
Ross?
Yes.
Mayor Carnes?
Yes. And congratulations, Chief. That is quite an honor to receive that. And you'll do very well there. All right. Next item that we have is resolved that the mayor and council hereby authorize the event Polyvalue, that's what I'm calling it, Fall Festival, sponsored by the Polyvalue Family Dentistry. The family event will be held on September 29, 2018, from 11 a.m. until 11 p.m. at the Polyvalue Family Dentistry, 3784 Dix, Lincoln Park, Michigan, 48146. Further, be it resolved that the event shall comply with Ordinance 666.04A2-noise. Applications filed and fees paid.
So moved.
Support.
Discussion?
Question about, oh, never mind.
Okay, further discussion? Clerk call the roll.
Councilperson Kelsey?
Yes.
Parkinson?
Yes.
Darzinski?
Yes.
Higgins?
Yes.
Murphy?
Yes.
Ross?
Yes.
Mayor Carnes?
Yes. This item has a cover letter from Mr. Koppler. Mayor and City Council was approached by a business owner within the city wanting to improve his property by changing out a large billboard sign located there. However, current city codes relating to signs prohibit him from making the desired changes he believed will be beneficial to the city. The city planner, following reviews of the sign code, made recommendations that are incorporated in the attached resolution that would allow the project to move forward while minimizing any negative consequences of the change. The proposed amendment does the following. It extends the distance from the interstate limited access freeway right-of-way from 100 to 350 feet that a sign can be located. 2, grants the approval by the Planning Commission if it meets certain conditions. 3, allows for 3 poles to be used to support the sign, and 4, removes the restriction that the sign must pertain to the property. So whereas the mayor and city council wish to amend the city code that addresses signs within the city, now there be it resolved that in ordinance to amend Title VI of the codified ordinances for the city of Lincoln Park by incorporating amendment to Chapter 1476 signs, 10E, interstate freeway limitations, be given its third and final reading and be adopted. The City of Lincoln Park ordains that Part 14 of the codified ordinances of the City of Lincoln Park, Title VI, Chapter 1476.10E, interstate freeway limitations, be and is hereby amended by the following. Interstate freeway limitations. No person shall erect within 350 feet of an interstate limited access freeway right-of-way a pole or pylon sign or part thereof which is visible from any point on the freeway road service without the prior approval of the Planning Commission, which shall be granted upon review and determinations that the following conditions are met. 1, the sign is erected to a height not to exceed 30 feet above the highest elevation of the nearest section of the freeway, but in no event shall the maximum height of such sign exceed 100 feet. 2, the sign shall not use more than 3 poles as the means of support, and no more than 2 signs shall be permitted on any pole. 3, no tree over 6 inches in diameter shall be pruned or cut down to accommodate the location, sitting, or visibility of the sign. 4, the sign is not visible from a residential zoned area.
So move.
Support.
With the discussion, we will start off with Mr. Koppler.
If I could, please. So,
Yes.
one of the issues that came up when we were discussing this the last time this came up was a desire to limit the ability for it to be transferred on to another owner without coming back to the city in some way. We looked at how to do it within the zoning code, and there really isn't a clean way to do this within the zoning code itself. But what we felt that, and as we kind of talked that night, was coming up with a license, a business license, effectively, that would require anybody that had any type of billboard, we'll call it, within the city, they have to register. This would be renewed on an annual basis. If it transferred, the new owner would have to come into the city. What I handed out before that, and I'm trying to speed up the process so we don't, sit on this for too long, is an outline of what the ordinance would look like that we would have to add to our license ordinance. A couple areas that I want to draw your attention to that I think, I need to get some input from you on, is going to be, do you want that to be something that has to come before council? So it'd be like used auto, I think would be a good example where, every year when those are renewed, they have to come back to you for final approval. Or do you want it just to be handled through the permit or the licensing process, so like a typical business license for anything else? I guess that's one point of what I need clarification on, so I could change this to reflect that. Right now, it kind of reflects that it's just going to happen administratively and not come back to council, but it's easy to put in there, have to be approved by council.
I'd say come back to council.
Yeah, I would too.
Yeah, me too.
Okay. That's what I thought, but I just wanted to make sure I don't assume. As you look through this, where it talks about the issuance of permits, and there's another section called plot plan required, don't read those too carefully, because that's going to change. Again, that's reflective of some of the different codes that we looked at, and I think I'm going to make that a lot more simple, just refer to our permitting process to make sure that it's been approved through zoning prior to issuance. So again, kind of putting it in context of the used auto dealer license that comes back to you. You know, it goes through our building department to make sure that they are in compliance with whatever the codes are. And so those two sections are going to be reflective of very similar language like that. So don't pay a lot of attention to that. I think the other issue that we need to think about is one that it's very difficult when we're talking about signs, and that is the content of the sign. And I know we kind of had this, we kind of danced this dance about, you know, there may be some sign language we like and some language on the signs we don't like. You know, the Supreme Court's pretty clear on this, that we cannot regulate the content. But what we can ensure that it does comply with any of the state, federal, and local laws in terms of what is placed on there. And so if you go to the very last section, and right on this, it's objectionable material prohibited. Sorry, I'm looking at the wrong one. I got the earlier.
You want this on the back?
Hold on.
I read it already.
Oh, yeah, so the objectionable material prohibited, it says, is unlawful display on any advertising structure, bill, or any advertisement or advertising matter, and we would strike, this is still the wrong one for some reason, which is contrary to federal, state, or local law or ordinance, is how that would be worded. So you can't regulate based upon the content, but you can prohibit illegal advertising. So whatever would be considered illegal could be controlled. But you can't say, well, you know, we like Domino's pizza, but we don't like Papa John's pizza. You can't do that. You can't, you know, if someone wanted to say, you know, vote for me, you can't, you know, do that. So, but we can, no, you can't. You might want to, but you can't. But again, those things, again, obscene is kind of, and the way it was worded is a very vague term, I guess, and would open us up to potential action if we tried to say, well, that's obscene, because again, what's obscene to you may not be obscene to someone else, and we get into all those matters. So the language I just told you is how that would have to be worded.
Could you repeat that, Matt?
Yeah, so it would say it's unlawful, not the whole thing, just what it would
Just
say,
that
right?
sentence, yeah.
Good, because I can't remember exactly what I said, but it is unlawful to display on any advertising structure or billboard, any advertisement or advertising matter which is contrary to federal, state, or local law or ordinance. And so the only other thing which we would bring back is that we'd have to assess what a licensing fee would be, and that can be done by resolution to amend the current schedule of fees. I was thinking it's probably going to be in the $200 to $250 range, but I still haven't finalized a review of that. This would be, and understand that this would be applicable to any person, business owner that is, that owns a billboard or what's considered an advertising structure. On an annual basis, they would be submitting a license for their ability to do that.
Through the chair, I got
Okay, yes, sir.
couple questions, if I may. One is, the language you just read, is that enforceable? I know what you read, but is that enforceable
On
on the
the-
last part you just read?
Yeah.
As a general rule, it's enforced.
Okay, that was my first question.
Yeah, the problem's going to be specific.
Right, I just wanted to make sure we can get our foot in the door, is
Yeah.
what I'm saying, okay?
But again, we're going to have some, you know, most law is not that vague, so we would, before we try to enforce that, there would have to be a law that we could point to that very clearly says that
Right.
it's in violation.
Right, I just want to make sure it's just not written down because it looks good, but there's some teeth to it, is what I'm.
Yeah, and the way that it's worded there, before I just changed it, it would be very open to that. Yep.
Yeah. The other billboards that we have, is that the normal process that we, like the ones on, that are on I-75 and all that are, is that the fee that we charge, or that's charged by
No,
another one
yeah.
of our commissions, or no? Or
Well,
is
right
that
now,
different?
there's no license for
That's-
that ability
okay,
to
so
do
we're
that.
just
So
creating.
this would be brand new.
All right, so we're just creating the language in the fee structure, so we don't
Correct.
have any really template to go by, right?
Correct.
Okay, so you're gonna this will be incorporated then into the licensing regulation?
So we'd come back at the next meeting with an ordinance somewhat, or, yeah, an
Something
ordinance,
like that.
similar resolution, similar to what you're voting on tonight for the actual sign, the zoning piece of this.
Yeah.
But it would be in the license section of the city code.
Okay, last question I got then. When the person, because this is brand new, we would have the clerk give them a copy of it so they're aware of what's in there, because we're creating this, so whoever is going through this process is at least aware of what the process is, not, hey, I signed, I didn't know you had to do all this
Yeah.
stuff. So we,
Yeah, I think
It's gonna be new.
with new, it's easy.
Yeah.
I think one of the things that we would want to do is send a letter, if we can get if we have the information.
Yeah, okay.
You know, one of them I know we actually, the EDC owns, if I'm not mistaken.
I think they do. They own it, yeah.
So, you know, I would think it would be our obligation to make them aware that we're going to be changing this, to let them, if they want to come to a council meeting, speak on, you know, for or against doing that. So we'll notify those owners that we have information on. I'm assuming, and I haven't looked at this, I'm assuming we have information on the billboards that are within the city and who the owners are. But
Powerful word, assume, but,
yes, well, it's, today I'm assuming, tomorrow, if you say go ahead and do this, I will have to find out for sure.
thank you, Your Honor.
Further discussion? Okay, hearing none, clerk call the roll.
Councilperson Higgins,
Yes.
Darzinski,
Yes.
Kelsey,
Yes.
Murphy,
Yes.
Parkinson,
Yes.
Ross,
Yes.
Mayor Kearns.
Yes. All right, next item. Is a cover letter from John Kazoo, Director of Public Services. In September 2017, the City of Lincoln Park applied to the Wayne County Federal Aid Committee to obtain federal assistance for the reconstruction of River Drive from south of Ford Boulevard to Emmons Avenue. At July 11, 2018, Wayne County Federal Aid Committee meeting, the River Drive project was selected to receive federal assistance for the 2020 construction season. Federal assistance will amount for 81.85% of the construction cost of this project. Total cost, construction cost with a 10% contingency is estimated to be $1 million. The funding for this project will be administered through the Michigan Department of Transportation, and certain milestone dates must be met in order to have the project under construction by 2020. Therefore, topographical survey work for this project would propose to take place during the 2018-2019 winter season, with design and engineering taking place in the spring and summer of 2019. The cost for the topographical and design phase of this project are not to exceed $63,750. So whereas Hennessy Engineers Incorporated is the city's current engineering firm, now therefore be it resolved that the mayor and city council authorize Hennessy Engineers Incorporated to perform the topographical and design phase of the River Drive reconstruction at a cost not to exceed $63,750 to come from account number 450-000-818000, Road Reconstruction Contractual Services.
So moved. Support.
Yeah, there you go. All right, discussion on this? All right, clerk call the roll.
Council President Murphy.
Yes.
Councilperson Higgins,
Yes.
Darzinski.
Yes.
Kelsey.
Yes.
Parkinson.
Yes.
Ross.
Yes.
Mayor Kearns.
Yes. Earlier this evening, we had a closed session. What's that? I don't have it. I do know.
I was thinking the city manager.
We'll get it straight yet.
Excuse me.
Next item that we have is a cover letter from our city manager, Mr. Koppler, and it's a resolution to waive bid requirements for purchase, and it has to do with a 16-run kennel, commercial 16-run kennel. As mayor and council are aware, staff has been working on a solution to bring animal sheltering services back in-house following the desire of the city of Taylor to discontinue the animal sheltering services contract. The solution has gone through a number of evolutions, beginning with the partnership project at a former school to what is now being recommended, the purchase and installation of prefabricated commercial 16-run kennel. Horizon Structures LLC is located in eastern Pennsylvania and is a leading manufacturer of custom prefabricated structures. They handle a wide variety of kennels from a single run up to what we are recommending, a 12 by 60 foot 16-run kennel. I reached out to a community in South Carolina that purchased the same structure that we are proposing. They are comparable to Lincoln Park in the variety and number of dogs being handled. The individual I spoke with was very happy with the design, workmanship, and overall construction of the structure. This individual provided some good tips on what should be included in the purchase to make it even more functional as a municipal animal shelter. This company is on the Federal General Services Administration bid list, and we will receive similar pricing to the federal government. The current estimates for manufacture, delivery, and placement is $71,639. This price also includes continuous floor drains in each run, 100 amp electrical package, light fixtures, and heat and AC. We are still working on the final list of amenities for the structure, so we're asking for a higher purchase authorization to ensure we will be able to provide the best environment for the animals and our employees that will utilize this facility. Horizon Structures will complete the manufacture and delivery of this facility within 60 days of order. We will have site prep to complete prior to that arrival. This will include installing a foundation pad, fencing around the facility, and parking accommodations. I'm estimating that we will need to spend an additional $30,000 to $40,000 to accomplish this, making the estimated cost of the project $125,000. We'll be utilizing the former site of the animal shelter located at the rear of the DPS facility at the end of Russell Street, off of Lejeune. This site has water and sewer connections that may need to be refreshed as part of the project. Staff has worked with the state licensing authority for municipal animal shelters on this project, and after reviewing the plans and literature for this structure, believe it will meet all necessary requirements to gain licensure and operate in a manner consistent with state regulations. The Mayor and Council have appropriated $275,000 for this project with funding in the Capital Improvement Fund. Sufficient funds are available to complete this project. So, on the resolution, whereas the city wishes to purchase a 12-foot by 60-foot commercial 16-run kennel to operate an animal shelter, and whereas funds are available within Capital Improvement Fund to make this purchase, and whereas the facility to be purchased is available through the General Services Administration Federal Supply Service that leverages the buying power of the federal government and allows local municipalities to benefit directly from the reduced cost of goods and services and indirectly by eliminating the time needed to process bids. Now therefore be it resolved that the Mayor and Council authorize the city manager to honor the General Services Administration Federal Supply Service bidding process and purchase a 12 by 60 commercial 16-run kennel for a price not to exceed $85,000 with funding coming from the money set aside in the city's capital improvement fund budget.
So moved.
Support for discussion.
Question here.
Okay. It was Kelsey and Higgins. All right, yes, sir, go ahead.
Yes, I have two questions, actually. The size of this seems a little small to me. Are we going to be able to accept animals from other cities to help us pay for this?
Well, at this point in time, we're looking at just what our needs are with it. I mean, that's, there has been another option that we've been exploring, but because we're getting to a time limitation and they have not been very responsive, we've kind of went away from that and went with this. However, because, again, this is well under what our budget is, it gives us the ability to go back and look at an expansion to this that would allow us to service other cities. We have had conversations, I've had conversations with at least one other city that may be interested. Potentially another one could be interested down the road. but neither of those are in the position today or within the very near future to participate in that.
That kind of leads into my second question. Is this going to be something that we can add on to in the future, should we need to?
Yes.
Okay, and the last question would be, how does this size compare to, say, Southgate that we had used in the past?
I'm going to have the chief, who is more knowledgeable on that. I guess, actually, I would kind of change that a little bit. First question is compare it to what we had in the past, and then.
We didn't have much.
Right. So I want to start there.
I was thinking of a real kennel.
So it's probably about twice the size what we had, and it's probably not as wide, but quite a bit longer than what Southgate has now.
Okay.
And so one of the things that we want to make sure of, and why we were working with the state licensing, is that the fundamental pieces, what are the size of the cages that we would need, or the runs, and this is with exactly what they told us, which was 4x6 indoor, but what this actually does is allow us to do an outdoor run in addition to that, and that is actually a good thing, because it will allow us to do a little bit more cleaning, be able to move animals around without, trying to actually physically move them. We can get them outdoors into the run, close it,
While they're
do the
gone.
cleaning, right. So I understand what the concern is. My concern on the space really is less about the space where the animals are going to be at this point. It's going to be some of the ancillary activities. It's kind of small, where we're going to have what I call office space and storage space. And those are the areas where I think we'll probably want to be looking at, maybe in the spring, doing some addition onto this that would allow for expansion of that.
Well, as you know, my concerns initially were that Lincoln Park seems to be having the biggest problem with the number of animals that we have to work with. And I wanted to make sure that we had a size that was adequate to handle those. And then secondary to that, I wanted to make sure that in order to help us run a good pound, that we would be able to have a facility that would allow for other cities to bring their animals here, and we could charge them and help pay for what we've got.
Yeah, no, I think that's consistent with what we've been looking at as well. I guess our solution to that is, we have an immediate issue with taking care of the city animals right now, and this provides with, a lot of, and again, we're going to be probably in the neighborhood of about $100,000 less than what's going to be available to that we can add on to, and within that, we have sufficient money to do an addition.
Your Honor?
Yes, sir.
Through the chair to Matt, my question is, so we're not putting this out for bid because we're going to go off the federal bid system, but in your explanation, you said we'll be close to getting what the federal...
Similar pricing.
Similar pricing.
Yeah. I mean...
How can it be similar pricing? Either you get their bid price or you don't.
Yeah, well, it's actually, that's the same language that we use when we do state, go off the my deal bids as well, because it's, again, it depends upon what it is that you're going to be purchasing. And to be honest, I haven't seen where the federal government has bought 16 run kennel. There's a 12. But what they do is they price it based upon the space. So it's similar in terms of what the space is, but if they're not buying a 16-run kennel, it's going to be a similar price, it's not going to be the same price.
Okay. Through the chair.
I think what you're asking is fine, it's just the way that they look at it.
Right.
And the way that they say that you're allowed to get similar pricing.
Councilman Darzinski?
Thank you. Okay, this is a little technical, but I just want to make sure I have this on the record for everybody. I work on my daytime job. I work for a customs house broker. It's my job to process paperwork for cargo that comes into the country. So therefore, I work with the federal government on a regular basis. The General Services Administration is the purchasing agency for the federal government for a lot of things, including buildings. I've worked in a GSA building. This Horizon Company out of Pennsylvania. See, I've been a customs broker for 29 years, so I'm trying to remember everything here. I believe I've done cargo for them in the past. Just to be on the safe side, I think I'll be abstaining from this vote. Thank you.
Okay. Further discussion?
Your Honor,
Yes, yes, ma'am.
as I'm looking at the sketch, Matt, you touched on the office and storage, but I don't see that on this sketch.
Yeah, where it says lobby, that's that area right there.
Okay.
Again, I think if you actually go online, they have kind of an interior tour of this. You can see what it would look like. What the one community in South Carolina that bought exactly the same thing that we're looking at, they actually added on to that to include areas that, again, I think, I would consider amenities, not necessarily needed right now, but, one of the things that we're going to hopefully be adopting out dogs. You want some space where someone can meet the dog in an enclosed area, so we would want those type of things.
Right, so you think that's big enough?
That's why I'm saying that we're going to be looking at expanding with this.
Okay.
But it's just, this is the largest one that they produce.
Okay,
So we're going to have to do some expansion regardless.
okay.
And again, it would have been, I think, a perfect solution what we're looking at doing. But again, there's really only one company in the area that could produce that building very quickly for us. Because again, we're looking at about, well, the end of this fiscal year, or the end of this calendar year, we have to be up and running, so.
Your Honor, one more quick thing. I just want to bring up something that was brought in the past when we had the dog pound back there. Probably Mr. Murphy's the only one, other than myself, that will remember this. Right before the dog pound was decided we were going to close and get rid of it, we were talking about a dog park that could be put on with adjacent to that. And in the Parks and Recreation 5-year plan, they are asking for a dog park. So just something to keep in mind as we go along.
That discussions that has been going on.
Yeah, no, that is something I think it makes a lot of sense to co-locate those type of things.
Correct.
So again, not necessarily something we're primarily looking at right now because we're trying to solve the problem in front of us.
Right, that's
But-
something I want long-range plan thinking of.
Yep, but I agree. I mean, I think there's a lot of sense in doing that.
Anything further from council?
Just one quick thing. Because we're not really, or have been out of the animal shelter business, I know the chief and maybe you, Matt, can hook up with some of these dog rescue groups to get some ideas, because that'll eliminate us making mistakes as we go through this again, so that they can kind of look at maybe give us a little tips as we're going, or at least be able to come in and take a look and says, if you did this, this would happen. I think that would go a long way from us not being in the business for a long time to not try to make a lot of guesses of what's going on. if we
Yeah,
could do
and
that.
I think
I'm sure they'll do that if you guys.
the chief has developed a very good working relationship with
Perfect.
Holly Ann, I believe, I can't remember her last name, who is with the state licensing.
Okay.
And she is very, very happy with what we're doing.
Very thorough.
Yeah, very thorough. But also has been giving us a lot of good information in, what to look for, what to do. And that's actually part of why we don't have a final package today, is some of the things that she's recommended. It's getting an understanding of how they would go about it and, what the price ultimately would be.
Okay. Thank you.
Anything further from council?
Through the chair,
Yes, sir.
this is a Cadillac building compared to what we had. It was such an antiquated building, what we had. It didn't have dog runs. You had to grab the dogs physically and drag them outside. The cleanup was ridiculous. I'm glad to see you're utilizing the same spot where it was, because there's water and sewer and stuff all back there, and there's plenty of room for parking and everything. And we can add on to it. I can see right where you just go right out the back if we wanted to.
Yeah, it would be very easy, and I think, what we would be able to do then is actually go through a bidding process for the expansion, because it would give us the winner effectively to develop what it is we would need and do that. And I think, we'd easily be able to do the additional space for less than what we would have available, so.
Well, with your original plan, it was going to be $1 million.
I'll tell you, that's been one of the frustrating things here. When we had a architect that the state said we should use, their retrofit of a building we have within the DPS was 1.5 million. And,
This is a far cry from 1.5
Yeah.
million, so good work.
yep.
Okay. Further from council? Thank you, chief. We have citizen comment?
That's a good idea.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Richard Kudrak. I'm really glad you're bringing the animal shelter business back in Lincoln Park. This business about trying to work with another city didn't seem to be working out real well. One of the issues is that I've never been there, but I've heard lots of people talk very highly of the Dearborn shelter. I was wondering if anybody had ever even been there to get some pointers on how they're running those. But anyway, I'm sure I'm not the only one who never heard of a modular animal shelter. So the city is to be commended for even finding out that such a thing exists. To be able to get one you can modify to present needs, and you can expand later. I can envision bringing in another 60-footer and make it a double wide. You know, that might settle the council president's concern about bringing in other cities' dogs. You know. Anyway, this gives you possibilities that I wasn't aware was even available. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else from the audience? Yes, sir. Ma'am.
Yeah, when we were using Taylor, how much did it cost a month to put one dog in there for room and board?
It was $100 a dog.
$100 for 1 month?
Yeah, I think so. Where is it?
Well, it wasn't contained to a time period. It was, each dog we put in there was $100. So if it was there for 2 days, it was $100. If it was in there for 6 months, it'd still be $100.
Oh, well, I guess that's a bargain then. Now, some years ago, I read in the paper that Detroit was going to build a new animal shelter. I haven't heard no more about it. Has anybody looked at, instead of building our own, what seems is going to start running up in a really big dough, to try to get in touch with Detroit to put our animals over there?
I've looked at many different avenues for that. The City of Detroit shelter, you're looking at transport costs of the officer going, or the animal officer going down and then back and forth. And it really isn't feasible for us to do so, and I don't think that they had room for us otherwise.
I don't remember the space, if there was space issues or not. Saying that there wasn't space, or there was? Oh, no, yeah, there's no interest. I mean.
So Detroit had no interest in having our animals.
Because we talk about animal lovers. I have friends and relatives who are real animal lovers, and you couldn't treat them animals better than they do. And then we got these so-called animal lovers, and they end up on a burden on the taxpayers here. And every time we try to get something done, they say, well, we ain't got no more money. Potholes all over the place, we don't have enough policemen and all that, and now it looks like we're going to write a check for I don't know how much for all these animals, and where all the animal lovers are, I don't know. Thank you.
And if I could just address that, we're budgeting in this fiscal year about $32,000 or $33,000 is what our estimate would be for if we stayed with the city of Taylor. When we were with the Downriver Animal Shelter, we were spending about $25,000-ish. They wanted to go up as high as $100,000. Yeah. So, although I believe in sharing of services in areas where it makes sense, I think in this, we can do a better job, we can contain our costs a lot better, and we're not going to be left to the whims of, some other city that decides that they want to operate and put the cost onto other residents of their own. And so I think, our budgeting that we put together, because we actually applied for a grant, and that budget, I want to say, was us operating it, was in about the $30,000 to $35,000 range. And I think we're still going to be within that, not including the capital piece of it.
Thank you, sir.
Sue Sachida, are you going to accommodate cats as well as dogs, or just dogs?
Cats also.
Okay, how are you going to keep cats from getting stressed out when they're in such close proximity to a lot of barking dogs? Is there any consideration with...
Well, that's been happening since the beginning of time, actually. They'll make every accountable try for that. I think they're in separate rooms as it's set up, but Do the best we can.
Are there walls between the kennels, or are they all like, are they like chain link or what?
Yeah, the kennels will be chain link, but the reason that we're doing a 60 is it actually gives us a little bit more space where we would, remove the runs for the dogs, and it would open up the space for the cat area that we would do it. Exactly, and again, that's one of the things we're working right now to finalize, if it would be something that would be prefabricated at the site, or if we would do that ourselves afterwards.
So inside between each kennel, it's chain link, it's not a solid wall?
Correct.
Okay, so.
But
if a cat-
there'll be, if I'm not mistaken, I think the photos that we saw of this, they are chain link, but they have a divider woven in or on the side, so it's a solid, or as solid as possible between the runs.
Okay, so like indoors, though, how are they partitioned indoors? The same thing?
I just
okay.
to speed up, if you want to give me a call tomorrow, because I know you're doing a story on this.
Well, I just want to know if a dog is going to jump up against that chain link, stick his nose through, and this cat's going to be cowering in the corner.
well,
That's, I'm just
Right,
curious.
well, we're going to have a separate area for the cats.
Okay. Now, kennel cough often happens when there's not good ventilation. Did they address the issue of ventilation in these?
We're doing everything in accordance with the
State requirements.
state requirements on this. The chief is working hand in hand with that person who has been on site as we went through different locations, and will be through the construction and utilization and equipping of this area.
Will you double up cats in the kennel space if you become overcrowded?
Either way it goes, it would be better than how cats are being treated currently, which there's no provisions for them.
What happens with cats now in the city?
Well, there's nothing that happens to the cats. They don't pick them up. That's just the way that it is right now in their circumstances.
Okay. Are you going to have a policy in place when you do fill up, or you can't foster out an animal that you're going to take it to like shelter
What
to
we're
home?
considering here is the approval to go ahead and to purchase this. What you're talking about is the policy for running that, and there will be a policy that is set in place. But I need to have questions of whether that pertain to our resolution that we have on the board right now. This isn't public comment, right? Okay, anything?
Chair, Matt, I have a question. Could we get this picture up on the screen, or can I pass it around?
Yeah, you feel free to pass it around. We can actually get, if you actually go to Horizon Structures, you can find that as well.
Well, we've got the picture right here, so I'm sure that anything that public can look at.
Okay, is there further discussion reference to this? Hearing none, the clerk call the roll.
Council President Murphy?
Yes.
Councilman Higgins?
Yes.
Councilperson Darzinski?
For reasons cited earlier, I abstain.
Kelsey?
Yes.
Parkinson?
Yes.
Ross?
Yes.
Mayor Carnes?
Yes.
Pass that around, please.
Okay, earlier today, we...
Pass it around.
Again, earlier today, we had a special closed session in reference to retiree health care. As we have a resolution that arises out of that. Resolve the mayor and council agree with the settlement terms as outlined by the city manager and authorize the city manager to proceed with settlement terms as provided therein.
Need a mover and
So move.
support? Sorry.
Okay.
Didn't know what that was.
Okay. Councilperson Higgins?
Yes.
Kelsey?
Yes.
Darzinski?
Yes.
Murphy?
Yes.
Parkinson?
Yes.
Ross?
Yes.
Mayor Carnes?
Yes, you can have. All right, resolved that the council claims payable for those items greater than $25,000 to be approved as follows. GFL Environmental, September 2018 curbside collection, $109,388.02. Great Lakes Water Authority, June 2018 water, $210,984.95. Hard Rock Concrete, 2018 road reconstruction and water main replacement, $144,392.40. Huntington National Bank, semi-annual interest, 2010 LTGO, $46,584.39.
So moved.
Support.
Discussion? Clerk call the roll.
Councilperson Kelsey?
Yes.
Higgins?
Yes.
Darzinski?
Yes.
Murphy?
Yes.
Parkinson?
Yes.
Ross?
Yes.
Mayor Carnes?
Yes. With that, we move on to the city manager's report. Mr. Copler?
Excuse me.
Good evening, thank you very much. I really have nothing for a report tonight, but if there are any questions that you have, I will be glad to try to answer them.
Your Honor,
Yes?
I do. I have a
Yes,
question.
ma'am. Go ahead.
Do we know when we're going to fix the policing building? You know how it was hit from Southfield?
Yes, so we did receive the quote because that's an insurance claim. I think they have not given us a date yet. I'm looking at you, Johnny, shaking his head. So the insurance company has approved the quote, and so we're just now waiting for the contractor to come in and take care of it. I think it's going to be about $7,800 to repair it.
Thank you.
And on that line, I'd just let you know that, before you say anything, the steps out on the side that we have authorized to be fixed, that is going to actually start on the 20th. So later this week, they're going to come in and they're going to be saw cutting it and replacing it. So we'll have a little disruption, at least on the step side for the entranceway there. But my understanding is we're going to keep it open so the handicap ramp will be available. And this weekend, I wouldn't be parking around City Hall because they have completed the roofing project now at the community center and will be coming here Saturday, Sunday to finish up the roof projects that we did for this year.
Hoo-hoo.
Your Honor,
Yes, sir.
through the chair to Matt, the two questions that I keep getting asked about. What, if anything, is happening over at Sears and Farmer Jack?
Nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah, at this point, it's back to where I think you keep going is the developer that owns that area has told us that they are exploring different options to rebuild on the foundation of the former plaza. And they have not provided us anything beyond that at this point.
And the Farmer Jack building has been condemned. When are they going to tear that down?
So you're talking about over at Lincoln Park Plaza? Okay.
Well, I was talking about both. The biggest question I get is about Sears.
Yeah.
And I can't believe that they're not doing anything.
Yeah.
But the other one would be the other
Yes, at the
shopping
Lincoln
center.
Park Plaza.
And that, we have a building that is filled with water and needs to be, it has been condemned, but it still hasn't been taken down.
So the building department has been working with that owner. There's not been a good understanding of what their responsibilities are. I know that there have been tickets threatened, and there may be tickets that have been issued, and that may be going to court very shortly. But based upon some of the discussions, they told us that they'd be coming back with a plan for how they're going to address all their issues, because that one building is just one of the many issues surrounding that plaza that need to be resolved.
Maybe if we issued the tickets, they would have an idea what they're going to do over there.
And it very well, I'm just, be honest, I haven't, and I'll find out tomorrow, because tomorrow's when all my meetings on these things are.
Because if we sit here and don't do anything, they're, what's the hurry?
Yep, great. Yep, and like I said, it may have already been issued, I just haven't met with them to discuss that yet.
Matt, since we're talking about the buildings, the east and west side of Goddard both have buildings that are, can you tell me anything about those two buildings?
Well, it would be the east, so it would be the northeast side building. I know the building department has been working on there, again, I think there may have been tickets issued on that one. The owners understand that each one of those individual property, because those have different, each has its own unique address, which under our vacant property code means that each one is a separate registration. And I can't remember exactly how many units there are there, but.
I believe 5.
Yeah, so we're looking at a nice sum every 6 months that they're going to have to be. I believe that they are now, well, first off, I know that they have a new for sale sign on it, so that's a positive.
I've seen trucks over there in the parking lot on the weekend, and that's concerning because I know they like to do things when the building inspectors are not around.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things is, I know we've been doing some work over there because there was a water line issue. So I know we've been doing some work over in that parking lot, and I don't know if those are the trucks. I mean, I don't know which trucks you're seeing.
Yeah,
but I know that there was some work that was done to the building without oversight, and I believe that's being addressed as well.
And what about the building on the other side of Dick's?
Again, yeah, I had requested that the building department engage the owners on that to get it registered as a vacant property. I would have to follow up and see where that stands. I'm just not sure.
Okay, thank you.
Anything further from council?
Just real quickly, the sign out here hasn't been working for about 4 or 5 weeks. Are we going to fix it, or do we know what's wrong with it, or?
We know what's wrong with it. I think they have exhausted the efforts to fix it the way that they want to fix it. I was talking to those involved last week about this, that we need to unfortunately spend about $2,500, so.
Last question I'd make is, both of these properties that Councilman Murphy has talked about and Councilman Higgins, they've been that way for over 10 or 15 years. I know when I moved back to the city, I'm gonna live over by the plaza. It's been that way since, I've been back almost 20 years. And I'll leave that where it's at. But like I say, we need those two properties on Goddard and Fort on the corner, that new one that I think Councilman Higgins talked, or I say new, it's been built. That's been a problem since day one, too. But I guess what I'm saying is, maybe you can check with John, and maybe he can hurry up the process a little bit before I get old and gray and I'm not here to ask you anymore. Along with the other. I pass. I pass. Just stuck with the sign.
Further from council? And thank you, Mr. Copler. Then we go on to department head report. We have fire department, Chief Martin.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'd like to start by going over some of the response data for the last 3 months for the fire department. Let's see. We had 2,370 calls for service since the last quarterly report. We had 1,824 EMS runs that we responded to. There were 546 that were either non-emergent or we were unable to respond. Fire calls, we had 44. Of those 44, there were 16 structural, 8 vehicles, and 20 trash or rubbish fires. We had 96 other hazards, which are gas leaks, wires down, carbon monoxide, and service calls or false alarms, we had 46. And these would be like smoke or odor removal or unauthorized burnings, not emergencies per se. Our fire code enforcement team has continued working hard at ensuring all businesses in the city of Lincoln Park are safe for the citizens, patrons, and employees. They completed 89 fire and life safety inspections, 9 certificates of occupancy. They cited 1,290 violations and 230 re-inspections. Our departmental training, each month every person on the department is required to complete training to acquire continuing education credits to keep their medical licensure current to the state of Michigan requirements. We're also practice our fireground evolutions and tactics. So the training that we conducted over the last several months, pediatric overdoses, this is getting into their parents' medication, tracheotomies, laryngectomies, and stomas, appropriate helicopter use in emergency landing zones, vehicle extrication evolutions, emergency vehicle driving requirements, and high-pressure gas line fires, which ended up being kind of timely. If you saw the news in Boston recently, they had a overpressurization of the gas lines and caused several houses to explode. Operational issues for the fire department. We changed transporting ambulance agencies effective June 1st. We went from a rapid response ambulance to Beaumont Mobile Medical. Ladder and hose testing per NFPA guidelines, where they have to run them up to pressure, make sure there's no leaks, make sure the fittings are intact. We're currently upgrading our station alerting system. As I've said in other meetings, currently Central Dispatch will call us on the phone, causing a delay because we have to take the phone call, we have to listen to it, we have to announce it over the all-call, then the guys start working their way downstairs. We're going to go to a tone system, so now dispatch will just hit a button and make a radio transmission, so it will get broadcast throughout the whole station, and everybody will kind of make their way down while it's alerting. So it should shave off some seconds, if not minutes. We're changing our NFIRS reporting software to be compatible with our electronic patient care reports. We're switching from Firehouse to ESO. ESO actually purchased Firehouse, but it's going to integrate a little bit better. So if you start up like a patient care report and there ends up being a fire or vice versa, the information will just transfer over kind of seamlessly. And then we had our exhaust removal system installed, and that was purchased through AFG grant funding. You can see it there. Ideally, that would have been hooked up to the exhaust on the truck, but I just noticed that. Sorry about that. Some of our grants equipment purchases, after being awarded funds through the Firehouse Subs Grant, we were able to purchase Hurst hydraulic extrication tools, commonly known as the Jaws of Life, to replace the outdated equipment we're currently using. The hydraulic system doesn't require any hoses or anything. There's hydraulics within it, but it's battery operated. It's just as strong as what we currently use, and you can operate multiple tools at once without having to connect and disconnect hydraulic hoses, plus the hydraulic fluid is not pleasant to deal with. Thank you, Joyce Murray, for pointing this out to us. We recently applied for a AAA road safety grant. We requested Paratech air lifting bags that we took a picture of here. Basically, air lifting bags are used in a car accident to stabilize the vehicle. The current ones, we have to crawl underneath there, stick the bags under, inflate them. These are on wheels and a handle, so you can kind of push it under. Nobody ever has to go under the vehicle or go in what we would call the danger zone. It makes deploying it a little bit easier, so we're keeping our fingers crossed that traffic safety grant will come through. Also, currently, the Vetter bags that we're using right now, the NFPA standard recommends taking them out of service after a certain period of time. Ours are 10 years past that service life. So even though we strive to maintain all of our equipment, there comes a point when it's just safer to remove it and start looking for replacements. Assistance of Firefighter Grant opens up at the end of this month. We're going to be submitting for a Lucas CPR device that you can see here. Basically, that does chest compressions for us, freeing up our hands to establish IV access for medicines or put in advanced airways. Just helps having less manpower. It's one more thing that can be automated that can help us out a little bit. And then lastly, we're completing our fire truck purchase. We had pumped the brakes. Initially, we had the opportunity to get a significant cost savings if we went in with surrounding communities. That opportunity has kind of drifted away a little bit. The interest from the other communities has waned, so we had to go back to the drawing board a little bit, but we're wrapping that up, and over the next few weeks, we should have the order submitted, and we'll get that moving. And then last but not least, Lincoln Park Fire Department Open House will be Sunday, October 7th, from noon to 3, and we'll have that's my daughter, by the way. We'll have the usual Jaws of Life demonstration, hopefully be able to show off some new equipment. We'll have the police and other agencies there as well. Is there any questions?
Anything from the council for the three?
I'm sorry, through the chair. That E-Jaws of Life, is that a lighter piece of equipment too?
Now that would be fantastic if they would invent that, but no, they're still pretty heavy, unfortunately.
Still, that's a remarkable piece of machinery there.
The ones that we currently use, it's called a dump valve, so the hydraulics hooks up to a power pack, and to change tools, you have to go over, hit the dump valve, disconnect the lines, hook it to the new tool, charge the dump valve, and it kind of makes it more cumbersome. These, you can deploy 3 different tools as long as you have 3 people to use them. You can operate them all at the same time.
Faster and better.
Yep.
Thank you. Okay, I don't hear anything else. Chief, thank you.
Thank you.
You could just remain through citizen communication in case something comes up from one of them. Appreciate your report.
Sure.
And as soon as the chief clears out of there, we will open it up to citizen communications.
Yes, Mayor and Council, I'm still Richard Kudrak. I have some concerns about the city clerk's office. You just read the resignation for city clerk Donna. I got a phone call last week, totally shocked me, that said Deputy Clerk Carey had retired. I had no knowledge of this. You haven't read her resignation report. I sent an email to all you folks to say, why was this kept a secret? I got one response that said it wasn't a secret. Well, I didn't know about it. So rather than me asking you 14 questions about the city clerk's office, would you just give us a report? Who still works there? Who doesn't work there anymore? And who's in charge of this November election? I'd really like to know. Thank you.
Well, we typically don't announce retirements and resignations of employees. We do that, I mean, we have, I say on a daily basis, but monthly we do have separation of employees. This isn't a position that requires council to act on the resignation. City clerk is, because it's something ultimately they make that appointment for, so that's why we had to bring it to the council. And council ultimately will appoint the city clerk. I'm going to assume that before the election happens, there will be a city clerk appointed for that period of whenever that happens, and the new clerk will be elected.
Okay.
And so,
based on my, I'm sorry.
Who still is there? We have the deputy clerk, Jessica, over here, who is handling the day-to-day. She has some training and some certification on the election. We do have people that are volunteering their time that have experience and knowledge regarding the election to help make sure that we meet all the requirements in terms of notifications and everything that's going to happen before ultimately the mayor and council make that appointment for the interim process of a city clerk. And I would anticipate that probably sometime in October is when mayor and council will be making some type of an appointment.
I'm sure you can understand my concern because we have a relatively new person working in the city clerk's office, and they're the only ones there. And we're having a very critically important election coming up in 6 weeks. And I haven't, although you don't have to call me personally and tell me what's going on, I would certainly want to make sure you got enough qualified people working in that city clerk's office who can run this November election. Because I don't know who they are, and I was stunned beyond belief to find out Carey had also retired, only because you may not have to make that public announcement. I was just shocked I had never heard it. Thank you so much.
And let me say, I have no concerns about the operation of the city clerk's office, and I have all the faith in the world that we will, once again, have no issues with the upcoming election.
Mayor.
I concur.
Through the chair to Matt, could you maybe explain the process to Mr. Kudrak and anyone else that's interested about why we've lost our deputy clerk and why we've lost our clerk? I mean, there are a certain election.
Well, as it relates to the city clerk, I mean, those were for personal reasons why she's decided to step away. But as it relates to the former deputy clerk, Carey, she is running for the clerk's position. And she is also a retiring employee of the city, which means that she's going to be retiring from the MERS system for pension. And they require a 60-day separation of employment before you can be reemployed within that city. So she would not be able to be elected
Right.
and be able to receive her pension if she didn't have that 60-day separation. And so she left employment effectively August 10th, which would give a lot of time between November, if she were to get elected, and that 60-day window. So she will be easily in compliance and not have any jeopardy with her pension.
I just wanted you to kind of explain that people weren't just jumping ship.
Yeah.
That there were
Yeah, no, it's-
reasons for everything that took place.
Yeah, unfortunately, there's a lot of things that were going on that we had to jump through to, again, make sure that what we do addresses the concerns not only of anybody, such as yourself, but all residents. Make sure the day-to-day is taken care of, make sure the election is taken care of. There's a lot of moving parts. I think there is a lot of confidence in Jessica. She's done a great job so far, so there's no doubt in my mind she'll continue to do a great job. And again, I said there's people that are very knowledgeable as it relates to the election behind the scenes that are being very good citizens and donating their time to make sure that we don't lose anything. So when we can be a little bit closer to full staffed when a city clerk is appointed, we're not going to be behind. And I don't sit here today with any reservations about what we're doing. And believe me, I wouldn't say that if I didn't believe that what we're doing is everything we can do and is being done the right way.
Thank you, sir. We'll move on to the next.
My name is Duchesne, and I live in Lincoln Park. And there seems to be a lot of commotion about lead in drinking water, especially in schools. Sunday's Free Press headline was, "How can we keep kids' water safe?" And there was a 3-page article in there, and recommendations for fixing the problem cost a range from thousands to over $100 million. Lead is not a new thing for Lincoln Park. Lead gets into the drinking water. Use lead-based solder to join the copper pipes. My house that was built in the 50s is one of them. In 1986, Congress banned the use of lead solder containing greater than 0.2% lead. Here's the Lincoln Park's water and sewer advice in the late 80s. If the water test indicates that drinking water drawn from a tap in your home contains lead above 15 ppbs, then you should take the following precautions. Let the water run from the tap before using it for drinking or cooking any time the water in a faucet has gone unused for more than 6 hours. I think I read somewhere it was 3 hours. So that's what I go by. I think I'm being on the safe side. Flushing the tap means running the cold water faucet until the water gets noticeably colder. In the winter, you can really tell the difference, but in the summer, it's a little harder. Usually about 15 to 30 seconds it takes. Lead solder was banned in June of 1988. Flushing the water is a simple and inexpensive measure you can take to protect your family's health. Try not to cook or drink water from the hot water tap. Hot water can dissolve more lead more quickly than cold water. The lead-free water for infants and young children. Instead of closing schools in third grades where they're failed, maybe they should test the kids to see if they got lead in their system. And this weekend begins the Friends of the Library book sale. So check it out, and don't forget to bring your scrap paper to the bins on Cleophas. And I'd like to ask the chief a question. A few months ago, I guess, a couple people died in a house fire in Lincoln Park. And I was wondering, here we got a big fire and they don't seem to be able to get up or that. And then I was thinking, maybe they're sleeping and there's a small smudge fire, but the carbon monoxide is going through the house and they're breathing that, and that makes them sleep a lot better. Now, could that be the reason that carbon monoxide from a small fire that nobody realized at the time, but they're breathing it while they're sleeping there?
There's a possibility, if after the autopsy, they'll be able to tell what they...
Or they still haven't got the report from the autopsy yet?
It takes months.
Okay, thank you.
You can come back up there.
Sean Stansberry, good evening, Mayor and Council. A couple weeks ago, we had an event, a cleanup event at the band shell. The mayor attended, Councilwoman Ross was there, Carlos Salcido was there, Annette, Jason. It's about 5 or 6 people. I didn't get to stay long. I had some other engagements to go to, but I got to clean up the ball field and do some stuff over there. But I wish more people would come out and try to clean the city up when we have events like this. So I just encourage the citizens, get out there. If you want the city to be better, look nicer, and got to get out and do something. So also, too, we got an election coming up in November. So we got a big election, state, city. So everybody out there, hopefully you can get out there and vote. Make sure you know who you're voting for, what they stand for, what they want to do for the city. And hopefully we can keep rolling what we're doing right now with the city. As far as I hear about the animal shelter, that's good to hear that we're moving along on that. And I heard Matt say that we'll have that up and running before the end of the year, so that's nice. And if the city needs any kind of advice on anything, I obviously volunteer at the animal shelter in Wyandotte, and I could give a lot of advice out for certain things if anybody come out and reach out to me. As far as Sue was saying about the cats and dogs and the dogs, barking, where we're at in Wyandotte, it's a small building. There's one wall with one door, and sometimes those dogs will be going and just barking and barking. And usually it doesn't really get the cats going. I mean, I've never really seen a problem with it. I'm not there all the time, but so hopefully that'll all work out. And I think that the dog park is a really good idea next to that. So that'll be. I've heard a lot of people talk about that. So, and then on a last note, I would just like to thank or say to my friend and councilperson Parkinson, happy birthday last Saturday. Turned 31, I think it was, Tom.
Officially a senior citizen.
Oh, okay, all right. But yep, and happy birthday to him. And that's all I have tonight. Thanks.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Joyce Murray, lifelong resident. Congratulations on your grants. When the next one comes out, I'll email it to you. So a lot of the main concerns, again, on the residents of Lincoln Park Facebook page, again, the roads. That's the number one concern. Do you guys have any indication of when another meeting or study session for the roads for next year's construction projects would be happening? We thought about that yet?
Well, normally it's November, December, but I think the mayor had indicated that he'd like that to be in October, so we're working on that.
Okay, so keep
Yeah.
me posted, please. Soon. And then another major concern, it's been like, 6 weeks since we've approved for GFL to continue being our garbage pickup. I would just like to let you know that out of 6 of those weeks, my garbage was not picked up 3 times because of a car being parked in front of my house and them coming at 7 or 8 o'clock in the morning. I'm legally allowed to park there, but my sign says 12:30 to 3:30. So that's still an issue, not just with me, but with other residents in the city. And that is a hindrance for those that do not have driveways. So please, if we could really work on getting that structured. 50% of the time, garbage pickup to me is unacceptable. So just want to put that out there. And then my last concern would be, we have residents who they're maybe live on a corner lot or near a pole, and they're letting their bushes get overgrown, and it's climbing the pole, getting up into the wires, going over into neighbors' yards. certain people have called the building department to find out what can we do because the neighbor's not maintaining their lot. Is it ordinance? They're getting thrown around back and forth. Sometimes they're told to call DTE. DTE said it's a city issue. So if you have a resident who's not maintaining their property, the vines and stuff are growing up the lines over into my yard, like, who is the proper channel to contact for that?
On the face of it, I'd say it would be the LP Pride, would be the starting place anyway. Because they're the ones that handle overgrowth vegetation as far as grass and weeds and such.
'Cause-
And what you're describing sounds like an overgrowth of weeds.
Yeah, the picture that was put up there, I know exactly where it's at. It's in an alleyway. It's pretty close, kind of somewhat to where I live. So I've driven by it a couple times just to kind of get an idea. But that is a main concern. So pretty much anything would be LP Pride first off, correct?
That's where I would start with, yeah.
Okay,
If I had that problem, I'd start with them.
all right. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Hi, Mayor and Council. My name's Jason Bear, lifelong Lincoln Park resident. I'd just like to thank you for appointing my commission to the Parks and Recs Commission today. I do look forward to becoming more involved in the city that I've lived in for now 46 years of my life. And in the spirit of the election coming up, I also had another resident ask me, do we have a city ordinance for number of yard signs or like political yard signs you're allowed to have in your yard?
No.
No?
No, there are plenty of federal court decisions that say you can't even limit the time when they put them out and when they don't. The city has a general understanding 60 days before the election. But you can put up 1 or 10. It's however unsightly you want to make your front lawn look. It's up to you. It's your front lawn.
Okay, it was just a question I
You
got.
cannot put it in the city right away, though. Please remember that it'll get picked up unless
Yes.
it's in the.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you and congratulations.
Just a heads up, along Southfield Road from here to 75, I saw folks busting up cement and opening up conduit. So that means that the DDA's lighting project is underway. I didn't get noticed, they just showed up, but I'm just really excited about that. So be sure to look out for some brighter lights on Southfield from essentially Fort Park to I-75. So just want to throw that out there. It's exciting.
Seeing no one else, then we'll move on to oral reports of Council and Mayor. Council President Murphy.
Thank you, Your Honor. Don't have a lot tonight. I've been fighting, bringing to your attention the problems that DTE is forcing upon the residents who use DTE. They've got a lot of practices which are costing us tens of thousands of dollars, and when you talk to them, you call them on the phone, you tell them about different things, even though you're a city official, they don't want to hear it. And so, we used to have Madeline Williams was our representative. And I don't know does anybody know who our DT rep is right now?
Yeah, it's Jennifer Whitaker.
Jennifer Whitaker?
Yeah.
Okay, I am going to try her myself.
I'll send you her contact information.
Okay, I'd appreciate that because, there's a lot of waste going on. Maybe you've seen the TV commercials with this dumb guy running around blowing the windmill, and you've heard the radio commercials and that type of thing. Those all are paid for not by DTE. They're paid by the customers of DTE, us. And, there's a lot of wasteful things that go on. I know that recently a landlord called into DTE, and he was evicting someone who had a bill that was close to $2,000, and he told them, I'm going to be evicting these people, try to get your money, and they said, well, no, that's not a problem. It's not a concern of ours. And I think it's not a problem because they take that $2,000 that people don't pay and throw it in the pot and raise all our fees to pay for it. So those are the kind of questions I'm going to be wanted to talk to the DTE rep about, because on the telephone, they won't speak to you, and they won't even tell you who the rep is, because I asked. So, thank you. I will be glad to give Jennifer Whitaker a call. Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, Councilman Higgins.
Thank you. First, I'd like to, the gentleman who came to the stands ask about the water in the schools. Last year, I can tell you, I work in the maintenance departments at the schools, and all the schools in Lincoln Park were tested last year, and all the schools were safe from lead. Earlier this evening, we had some people up here talking about the Midwest Film Festival. It's going to be at our high school on November. And the one thing they did not say that I'd like everybody to know, that those young people have agreed that they are going to give the proceeds back to the drama department in Lincoln Park at the schools, and I'd like to congratulate them and thank them for that. And that's really all I have for tonight, Your Honor.
Very good. Councilman Kelsey.
Thank you, Your Honor. Just real quick, the only thing I can say is that for Councilman Murphy there, the Michigan Public Service Commission in Lansing, you might want to call our rep, Kara Clementi, and get the number. They're the ones that oversee all the rate increases for DTE, Consumers Power, and all that. That might give you an avenue, based on her helping out, Tom, that it might be a little bit easier to get through the muddling
idea.
there. That's it, Your Honor. Thank you.
Oh. Councilman Darzinski.
Thank you, Your Honor. Yeah, I want to dovetail on what Councilman Higgins said. First of all, the young people from Sundown Pictures who are putting together the Southeast Michigan Film Festival, SEMFest, they showed up at the first Downriver Book Fair 13 months ago and said, we have a movie to submit for your film festival. I goes, hey, how'd you like to run the film festival? So they've done 99.9% of the work on this. Councilman Higgins and I just did some initial direction with them on who they need to talk to, and got them connected with the right people within the school district and all that. So our role is quite small. And it's good to see people 25, 30 years old really take that on. It's a huge undertaking to bring a new event in. So first weekend in November, everybody please be at the high school and support the first film festival in the Downriver area. This is very unique, and it's right here in Lincoln Park, which is just another reason why we're a destination city. With great access now too, since the on-ramps are opened up again. So congratulations to those people to Sundown Pictures for doing that. Town Hall 3 for the Police and Fire Pension Fund portfolio that I'm putting together personally. Again, that is October 2nd. That's a Tuesday, 7 p.m. at the Icarus Hall, 1677 Fort Street. Please attend. Please come with one well-researched idea on how to improve the situation with the pension funds. I will do an economic presentation. I will remind everybody that if you really want to know what I'm going to say at the town hall, you really need to show up. The economic presentation I'm going to give is going to be very different than what you normally hear about pension funds and the economic history of where we are right now in America. And for that reason in the world. So it's not a simple issue. It's actually extremely complex. It's very nuanced. It's very sophisticated. It is not solved easily. It is not solved quickly, but it is something that has to be solved. So again, October 2nd, approaching fast. I just realized my first press release went out on that in late May. So I've given people 3.5 months to prepare for what will hopefully be a very positive and proactive meeting. So again, the economic presentation will start at 7 p.m. I'll do a Q&A session if we need it, and then we're going to move right into workshops where we're going to discuss recommendations and ideas, and all of that will be submitted to the Police and Fire Retirement Review Board for their consideration. This is going to be a very professionally run town hall, so please come prepared. Hands to the City of Lincoln Park, our next planning meeting is Sunday, October 14th, 5 p.m. at the VFW Post, 552. That's 1125 Fort Street, corner of Monty and Fort. We're going to be voting on board members so that we have people who have actual titles, who are responsible for specific duties. No time like the present to become a member of Hands of the City and become a volunteer. Again, Hands of the City now oversees 6 events in the city. So we got 8 core people that do a lot of work. So let's make that 28 people doing a little bit of work each. So show up and become part of Hands of the City. Furthermore, on the VFW Post 552, they are still looking for new members. If you know a veteran out there who doesn't interact or have a home post, please recommend that they go to the VFW Post 552 and become a member. They do need more members, and of course that would include Women's Auxiliary and Men's Auxiliary that I belong to. So it's a good post, and let's help it grow. Political culture in the city, I'm just going to skip over that because I could go ad nauseum on that. Lincoln Park Food Drive. I'm just the guy that formally came up with the idea of a Lincoln Park Food Drive and put the website together and then started trying to get people and businesses and groups within the city to take an individual month of the year so that no one's overburdened with trying to collect food or monies. And the Lincoln Park Food Drive, all the food and donations are turned over to the food pantry at Blessed Hope Christian Church. It's been almost 3 years now since I started this community level and community-wide food drive. And from my figures, now this is just what I know of, so you got to know how easy it is to do extraordinary things. Just from my numbers that I can account for, there's been over $7,000 in donated monies and food to the Blessed Hope Food Pantry through the Lincoln Park Food Drive. So the entire community, you can pat yourself on the back, because I'm going to tell you, when you're hungry, nothing else matters, and that's no joke. So continue to get involved with the Lincoln Park Food Drive and help Blessed Hope. Giving them the money and the food they need to fill that food pantry is the easy part. It's Pastor Gary Shipling and his wife, Pastor Crystal, that do the heavy lifting and do the no joke work of helping people right at the street level. I mean, that's serious work that's being done there. So thank you everyone for all the food donations over the last 2 years and 9 months, and let's keep that going. Thank you, Mayor.
Thanks, sir. Councilman Parkinson.
Oh, thank you, Your Honor. It's nice to see young people get involved, especially saving a life like that and sticking around helping the fire department and giving them support. So I congratulate those people really big as I can. Mayor Carnes, congratulations on the birth of a grandchild of yours.
Thank you.
I'll call the trash company and discuss it with Sam Coniglio again. Matt, the cable wires are still hanging in my yard. You're supposed to call and have them pulled out of there. So please, call the state and tell them we want the franchise back so we can have something to do with it. And you said the DT Energy Inspection, you were supposed to get the report on that?
Yeah, and I had actually forwarded that out to everyone. The energy audit?
Yes.
Yeah, that was forwarded out, and I believe a
Right.
hard copy was put into your box.
The hard copy was put in my box. What's your game plan with everything that was in there, though?
As we're looking at it, I think there's some of the things that we had planned to do in this year's budget, like, for instance, light replacements in here, and there's a couple other areas.
Light bulbs and light fixtures are very simple, so.
Yeah, so we're going, just like we have in the back there where the LED lights, we'll be changing these out as part of the redo of this area to do that. I think a larger project is something we'd have to work into next year's budget. Something that it didn't really address, it kind of hit on a little bit, is the boiler system here. It talked about that it's only 77% efficient. We know that if we're going to be staying here for a long period of time, we're going to have to address that boiler down there, because there is issues developing. And so
The
that would
boiler
be,
and the air conditioning should have been replaced when I first started working for the city. Especially, we found a $2,000 loss of water because of the air conditioning. I think we should I think that should be replaced this winter.
yeah, well, I think, again, those are larger projects that we'll have to work into the budget to figure that out. The strategy thus far has been looking at trying to take care of the envelope of the building. That's why we're doing the roofing project. The next thing would be the windows that we should look at to get those to be airtight. And then I think once we have that, then we can start addressing the longer-term HVAC issues that we have. And those are going to be a little bit more expensive propositions for us.
Okay, thank you, and that's all I have tonight.
Thanks, sir. Councilwoman Ross.
Thank you, Your Honor. For the cleanup that we had at the senior center, I just want to say thank you to all those that showed up, and a very special thank you, Jason, to your nephew, the only young person that we had there. And then I'm just looking forward to the first weekend in October with the zombie apocalypse on the 6th and then the fire open house on the 7th. Hope to see you there. Thank you.
Thank you. Did mention the band shell cleanup that was sponsored by the Community Improvement Commission, who had 2 years ago adopted Memorial Park as their area that they would do the cleanups for, and they continue on with that. So thanks to that commission and everybody that came out. 231 years ago today was the signing of our Constitution. It's an amazing document. It's Constitution Day today. You think that this is the oldest written document that operates a country, that controls a country. There's none other older than this. That's lasted 231 years and still going relatively strong. So that was pretty good. We've mentioned the city clerk's office and the importance of the elections. If you are not registered to vote, you still have time to do so. You can do it at Secretary of State, or you can come down to our city clerk's office. But in order for you to do that, you'd have to do it by October 9th. So you need to get busy on that, especially us. And lastly, we're coming into the fall, you might say, and there's a lot of leaves that come down in that time period. We ask that you do not rake these leaves into the street. It is against the law. It plugs up our sewer system, and it just causing all kinds of mess. So put them in the yard bags. They'll come and they'll pick that up, but please do not put them out into the street. And with that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Support.
Support. Council President Murphy and Darzinski. So clerk, call the roll.
Council President Murphy?
Yes.
Councilperson Darzinski?
Yes.
Higgins?
Yes.
Kelsey?
Yes.
Parkinson?
Yes.
Ross?
Yes.
Mayor Carnes?
Yes.